Hi there, welcome back to Dukascopy TV. I'm Ben Jones. The World Cup in Brazil is on the horizon, so joining me on the line to discuss the potential impact and outline some of the economic issues in Brazil at the moment is Irene Mia from the Economist Intelligence Unit. So Irene, I'd like to begin by looking ahead to the interest rate decision this evening. It's been creeping up for the past year or so and now stands at 11%. Can you explain the reason behind this gradual increase and what are you expecting from tonight's decision?
Yes, so Brazil has been struggling the past 2 years with a combination of low growth and high inflation. Its monetary policy has evolved, like in the past 2 years. Basically, for starting from April, as you mentioned, the central bank is starting to prioritize in a way growth. So inflation targeting has seemed to be taking a backseat in all this. That changed actually in April 2013 when the central bank started again a tightening cycle, which, as you mentioned, has meant that the Selic rate has increased by 375 basis points in 1 year, and it has reached again a record high of 11 basis points. This is obviously has an impact on the growth, obviously, of the country, but it is something that the central bank has felt was necessary given persistent high inflation. For tonight, we actually don't expect a further hike. What we see is that basically the latest economic indicators have been quite weak. At the same time, inflation is still quite high, but food prices seems to be easing in the last month or so.
Now, the World Cup is only weeks away and obviously is bringing a lot of attention to Brazil. From an economic standpoint, though, can there be much of an impact on Brazil? Do you expect any positives to come out of it?
Well, that's the big question of every and each World Cup. The World Cup, according to the latest figures, is costing Brazil something like $11.5 billion, which is huge for this type of event, even if it's not that much if compared to Brazil $2 trillion economy. The minister, I was actually looking at some estimates by the Ministry of Tourism, and they actually estimate that the World Cup is going to produce something like 13.6 billion. Let's say short term, just as a consequence of increased tourism. There is also, obviously there are lots of different studies. There is also the boost that the World Cup could give to Brazil economy in the longer terms in terms of infrastructure upgrading, which is one of the big problems of Brazil, one of the main constraints on Brazil competitiveness. There's also obviously the boost which could come from increased FDI in Brazil. All these it's difficult to quantify at the moment, also because there are lots of question marks on how the country is going to stage the World Cup in a way, because as we keep seeing in the news these days, there are still lots of delays in terms of finalizing infrastructure, the stadiums. There is also some concern with respect to the political stability, in the sense that we have been seeing quite a lot of protests being staged against the World Cup.
And finally, unemployment data surprised many recently, and the Rail is seeing some positives from the stability of the election in Ukraine. With a few encouraging signs, what are you expecting to see growth-wise from Brazil this year?
We are expecting Brazil to grow at 1.8 this year, which is a very, very weak performance once again. The problem with Brazil, I think, have really to do more with some kind of domestic issues. I mean, obviously there is the external picture, which is less supportive. In particular, it's kind of a weaker growth in China. But it's really, I would say, most of the problems are really domestic in the case of Brazil. So weaker credit growth. weaker confidence of consumer confidence, but also business confidence in the perspective of the economy. Competitive shortcomings, which are quite huge and on which we don't really see much being done. It's if you compare with Mexico, where granted, the economy is not growing as much as it should, but there are at least, competitiveness reforms in place and about to kick off. In Brazil, we don't see that. We haven't seen that really happening.
Irene, thank you for joining us today. That's all from me for now, but keep clicking back to Dukascopy TV for plenty more updates and exclusive interviews. Bye for now.